We are excited to be here. It's really fun to look at the chat and what a lot of y'all are doing. We also have AI Companion is joining us. It is going to be summarizing the meeting for one of our attendees. So how cool is that? We have AI on a call about AI. It's getting real, people. This is going to be fun. My name, as Brenda said, I'm Megan McCoy-No, and I'm joined by my fearless leader, Andy Johns at Pioneer, and we are both human. Almost everyone else on the call is too, right? Except for that
Except for that one.
companion. Yeah, except for that one. But we're going to talk today about how to become an AI powered expert. And I don't know about y'all, but Pew Research Center was reaching out to folks like, how are you feeling about AI? And folks said they're pretty much 42% of folks are equally excited and concerned. Does that ring true for any of you? There are a lot of changes coming with AI, a lot of things to get excited about, and a lot of things to keep you up in the middle of the night in terror. Um, I know in our field, we're a cooperation, a communications cooperative at Pioneer. And so we're always talking to marketers and communicators. And by the end of 2024, 90% of marketers were using generative AI, which is kind of crazy. The number of folks the year before, I think it was 60%, and it just keeps jumping up as people see the potential there. But I know not everyone on this call is a marketer. We've got folks on the call that are doing human resources, doing, the EAs, executive administrative assistants are like the backbone of every utility out there. I love y'all. We have a lot of different folks on the call. So I thought I would go to Wharton University and ask, what are people across the board using AI for? And they gave me a very long list. This is some of it. And I said, can you just show me the top three? And I went to napkin.ai and it created a handy graphic for me to show you top three ways people are using AI. The top way is document and proposal writing and editing. Right under that, though, is data analytics, which I'm a data girl. I love spreadsheets. I love them so much. So I don't know if y'all have tried using it for that yet. And then document and meeting summaries. That's the number three way folks are using AI, much like whoever on the call is using AI Companion. And there are a lot of different services that are popping up to help folks take advantage of what AI can do for your productivity. In fact, Andy and I were talking about this morning. It's
This is a
crazy.
crazy, crazy slide.
Yeah, because knowledge workers, this is from Grammarly's 2024 State of Business Communications report. But knowledge workers are reporting that they save almost 8 hours of work every week. This isn't every, what we were saying, it's not every year, it's not every month, not even, I mean, it's crazy. It's every week you're saving almost a day of time by using AI.
And this is technology, like Megan said, that didn't exist 3 years ago. And it's already saving folks a whole day, or either, depending on how you look at it, saving them a day or getting them an extra day of productivity. So, 42% of people are excited and concerned about it. I definitely count myself in that. I'm excited about the time savings and the efficiency thing. But we've got, especially in our industry, we've got some stuff to be concerned about. It's a significant energy drain. And hopefully you guys are seeing some of that. I know the Pacific Northwest was a epicenter for a lot of data center growth in the previous decade. And now I've heard of a lot of folks kind of tapping the brakes a little bit, that the data centers are, even with that cheap, reliable hydropower that you guys have up there, it's still a lot on the grid based on what the data centers are taking. I believe it's 160% increase is expected in data center power demand. I've heard it expressed a couple of different ways. One of the more surprising ones to me was the amount of energy it takes to create one AI image. One image is generated wholly from AI is about the same amount of energy as powering a residential refrigerator for 30 minutes. That's one image. The other way I've heard about it is this increase globally is going to be roughly equivalent. The new demand based on the data centers is going to be about the same consumption of energy as the country of the Netherlands. So it's like we've got a whole other developed nation worth of demand, a small one, but still a developed nation coming on board here. And we're the folks on this call who are going to have to try to figure out how to solve it. Sam Altman's one of the leading minds in AI right now. Excuse me, played a big role in launching ChatGPT and everything at OpenAI. He says the last March, I think we still don't appreciate the energy needs of this technology. It's going to be a massive thing that will hit just about every corner of our industry in the coming years.
Yeah, and Andy, I know some folks on the call may have been hearing on the news lately, especially last week, DeepSeek came out. It's a Chinese-owned company that says they have a model that's just as good as OpenAI and Anthropic's models. Those are the folks behind Claude and ChatGPT, but it's free and it didn't use as much energy. People are kind of fighting back on that a little bit, but I'm hopeful that it will start to use less energy. That's kind of what folks are wondering, but still, it's going to be using so much more power than traditional search. And pretty much there's no traditional search anymore. The way we're using this, it's changing so quickly and it's integrating everywhere. I'm not sure if folks have heard. It's very exciting. Did y'all know that the AI helped the Beatles win a Grammy last week?
This week, Sunday, this
This
past
week,
Sunday,
Sunday.
yeah.
That's right. Like a couple days ago. It was this crazy story, but there was a cassette that had John Lennon singing a song and playing piano to it. Yoko gave it to the Beatles back in 94, 1995, and they couldn't use it. They couldn't pull out his voice. And then 2023, they decided to try again. And there was a new AI assisted technology that was able to identify John Lennon's voice, pull it out of the sound, right? And get rid of the piano and help them add it and elevate his voice so that it matched Paul's voice, Ringo's voice. They even had George Harrison from an earlier attempt on this recording. So through the use of AI, we have a new Grammy Award winning song from the Beatles called Now and Then. If anyone has seen Facebook, if you are using the app and if you are updating your apps, I should say, it's always good to keep your apps updated. Meta AI has been integrated into Facebook. You probably don't even realize it's there. But next time you are posting something through your phone on Facebook, check it out. You'll notice it asks if you want to put an AI label on your post. That's because you can have AI help you write something, imagine an image, fix your grammar, which is always handy. I hate it when I send something to Brenda and there's a typo in it, and she always finds those. Or you can change the tone of it. I thought I would type in, have you noticed AI options on Facebook? And then I saw this funny option and it changed it up. Have you caught Facebook's AI party? Andy, I don't think it's quite up to your level in the
So
dad joke
far, so far we've
department.
got it beat on funny. Yep.
Yeah, but they're working on it. They're working on it slowly but surely. Apple Intelligence for folks that have either the iPhone 15 or 16, it is built into everything that you're doing with your phone. So if you are just in there writing an email, it will say, hey, we have writing tools. We can help proofread. We can rewrite this, make it friendly, professional. So I started out, let's write an email about artificial intelligence training and how these tools are built into the technology we already use. I wanted to make it friendly. Hey, let's compose an email about artificial intelligence training. These tools are actually integrated into the tech we already use. Well, that's not much of a change. But professional, they decided to add bigger words, which is cool. Let's compose an email exploring the topic of artificial intelligence training and its integration into the existing technology we utilize. Because no real person would use the word utilize. Come on, y'all. But it thinks it sounds professional. Is AI perfect? No. But it's interesting what it can help you do and how it can change up your messaging. I also really love the cleanup feature when you're in your images. You can go into where you would normally crop an image on your phone and hit cleanup. I wanted to take out a logo on this bucket truck and it took it out seamlessly. Super cool things coming up.
We'll talk later. That's a little bit about the what you could do. We'll talk later when we get to the policy section about what you should do. Is that okay to
Oh, it's
remove
different.
somebody else's logo? So we'll get into that a little bit. Um, so the amazing thing, a lot of what's come out lately is the video. There have been leaps and bounds in the video technology. So we've got a couple of examples here we're going to show. This one I think is under a minute, but this is a video some of y'all may have seen. Pepperoni Hug Spot was a pizza brand that was developed by AI. The logo, the writing, the voice, and the video was all done by AI. And this was the very best that AI could do in the middle of 2023.
Are you ready for best pizza of life? Bring friends down to Pepperoni Hug Spot. Our chefs make pizza with heart and special touch. Cheese, pepperoni, vegetable, and more secret things.
Secret thing.
Need delivery? Pizzas come fast. Knock knock, who's there? Pizza magic. Eat Pepperoni Hug Spot pizza. Your tummy say thank you. Your mouth say, Pepperoni Hug Spot. It's like family, but with more cheese.
Makes me happy every time I see it.
Now, I know we have an AI on the call, so I don't want to be too mean and hurt feelings, but that's the best. Yeah, I think somebody says, Brenda says nightmare inducing on the chat. That was the best that AI could do in 2023. That's a fun clip. There's the credits on who did what, but we bring that up to show, A, it's fun, but B, just to show how far the capabilities have come in just a year. So this next clip is we asked it to do a video of a family of grizzly bears. We knew we were doing this webinar for the Pacific Northwest. So grizzly bears eating some salmon with chopsticks. And you see there are a few flaws with it. The sushi is still moving, which is a little more fresh. I mean, I like fresh sushi, but that's a little too fresh for it to be moving on itself. But you can see in the detail that's in the bear's fur and in the picture, it's just amazing how far it's come in a year. Matter of fact, last winter, you may have seen some of this, but one of the world's biggest brands, Coca-Cola, decided to do an entire commercial in AI, or at least most of the commercial in AI. And we'll show a clip here. It's a news channel clip, so there's been a little bit of pushback on that, but I hope you'll notice the quality of the pictures too as they're talking about it.
One of the most iconic brands ringing in the holiday season. But take a closer look at the new Coca-Cola commercial and you might notice that it was made with artificial intelligence. Social media certainly caught whiff.
It shows how lifeless that Christmas commercial is.
It was supposed to be a reimagination of the iconic Holidays Are Coming campaign from 1995. But nearly 30 years later, the beverage behemoth now facing backlash for taking the real people and the cheer out of the holidays.
Coca-Cola just put out an ad and ruined Christmas and their entire brand.
It's less festive, more creepy holiday vibes.
Coca-Cola's just the latest company to serve generative AI to its consumers.
Oh, it's fun, right? It's fun, Andy. But don't rush in. There's a lot of things that can go very wrong. As you just heard, the backlash that Coca-Cola faced after those ads, probably not what they were expecting or wanted. There are a lot of ways that it's going wrong as people try to see if it works for them. So BBC is British Broadcast Corporation. They came down and slammed Apple over the use of they would condense headlines with Apple Intelligence. So BBC saw this headline come out. It was condensed, saying Luigi Mangione shoots himself. Well, this was the gentleman that shot a health care CEO in New York. So he did not shoot himself, and Assad's not going to pay the price for that. So BBC was like, look, you're going to hurt our brand by condensing our headlines into these short blurbs. And Apple pulled the feature in January. So just a few weeks ago, they pulled it. They're going to rework it. It might be reworked now. They're still kind of working on it, but it's a problem. Things can go wrong. I have not told Brenda about this one, but she'd probably enjoy it. McDonald's had been trying to use an AI ordering system for the drive-thru. They had it at 100 of their drive-thru locations across the U.S. testing AI, and there were a few problems.
McDonald's is shutting down its AI drive-through system after viral mess-ups were spread across social media.
You added bacon to my ice cream. I don't want bacon.
McDonald's
I would say bacon on ice cream might not be so bad. Maybe it's some
don't
new
knock it
trend.
till you try it. You know?
I know, right? But it wouldn't listen. It couldn't make changes. And again, there was a backlash online. So McDonald's canceled that program. At Lego, I don't know if y'all have seen, for folks that have tried using image generators with AI, they typically have problems with fingers. They either like to give you too few or too many. And it was hilarious that Lego had the same problem. Lego hands, if you are not aware, are typically like C-shaped. They don't have fingers, unless, of course, AI is involved, and then it gives them fingers, which is wrong. So Lego had these images of Ninjago characters created by AI. They didn't say they were created by AI. And one of the artists from Ninjago, one of the co-creators, saw this and got upset. He said art should be made by the artists. Lego had an interesting response. We believe AI offers interesting opportunities and will continue to explore how we can use it to improve our ways of working. So there's some backlash there. And we've had some backlash too, Andy.
True. If some of the world's biggest brands like McDonald's and Coke and Apple and Lego can have that, Pioneer's certainly not immune to that as well. I saw that we have the Read. Is it a Read AI or which AI do we have that's logged on?
AI Companion.
AI Companion. Right when Read AI came out, and there are a lot of platforms out there that will do this. Like the stat said at the beginning, they'll recap the meetings. We have a meeting every Thursday at Pioneer called Thought Leadership Thursday, where we're doing brainstorming. We're working on projects. It's the kind of thing where there's 60, 70 people at the company invited. Usually about 20 or 30 show up and talk through it. On this particular day, somebody had one of the Read AI note takers going and checked the box. Instead of the box that said, send these notes to me, they checked the box, send it to everybody who's on the meeting. The meeting started with a couple of folks, as people do before meetings start, talking about different things. Somebody brought up their colonoscopy, the liquid diet that they were on, some of the consequences of that. And sure enough, when the AI meeting summary came out and was sent out to 60 or 70 people at Pioneer, right there in the first two sentences, this meeting began with a casual conversation about liquid diet restrictions and colonoscopies, with members sharing their experiences and opinions on the procedure. Which that's a great way to find out who's reading meeting notes, because anybody that read that one was definitely following up with questions about what this meeting was all about after that one went out. So we learned if you're going to do that, be very careful if you want it to go to only me, like it says there, or to all the participants. Innocent mistake, could have been worse, but you'll learn along the way.
It got everybody to read that email.
True.
Yep.
True.
So I think, as we can see, and I know folks are talking about in the chat, ready or not, AI is here. It's here to stay. So this morning, we want to talk to you about 3 ways that you can really use AI and get a lot out of it. You can use it to refine ideas, to repurpose content, and to reach consumers. And there are 2 big types of artificial intelligence that you'll hear about. A lot of folks are talking about agents, and you'll hear some people say that 2025 is the year of AI agents. If you want to think about agents, they're basically a way to take actions based on a set of goals. So, we're all in the energy industry, right? So maybe you have a Nest thermostat and you can write an agent to make sure that your thermostat, and Nest uses AI in their software. You can use it to make sure no matter what the temperature is outside, that it will stay adjusted and maybe keep your bill within a certain range, right? And it will make those adjustments. It'll go out to see what the weather is like, and then change what's going on with the thermostat based on different factors coming in, all to meet one goal. Other folks are using them to buy airline tickets if they reach a certain price point. Or there's something new that came out through ChatGPT this weekend called Deep Research. And you can use an agent to write a very comprehensive research paper for you. It's only for people that pay $200 a month. But still, that's what an agent can do. It really goes out to a lot of different places and can be interactive based on a set of goals. They can take over your computer even and search things while you're doing other work.
I know, Megan, that agents, I know, like you said, it's a year of agents because my mother-in-law, and this sounds like a mother-in-law joke, but it's actually real. She sent me, or we were talking to her, and she was asking the other day, who is Al, and why are my friends getting him to help do their grocery
Oh
list?
no.
And
Oh no.
sometimes a serif font versus sans serif font really makes a
Mm-mm.
difference. I was like, no, that's not Al. It's AI. It's an AI agent that's helping them with their grocery list. So anyway, they're definitely hitting the market big time if they're making it all the way to her.
They are. Today, though, and what folks are really using that is helpful right now, since agents are still being kind of created and streamlined, folks are still making some mistakes with them too. So those are still fairly new. But generative AI is really what we're going to talk about today and what we want to make sure you know how to use to make the most out of your everyday tasks, right? You can create content based on prompts. And that content could be a piece of writing. Maybe it's pictures, it could be video, or it could even be code. My husband is a data architect for Warner Brothers Discovery, and he said half the guys and women that he works with are using AI to help them with their coding projects. So that's generative AI. It helps you create content, different kinds of content, through pattern recognition. A lot of content that it scans so that it can understand kind of the information out there and can help you create content based on that. There are a ton of brands that you'll see out there. OpenAI is the folks behind ChatGPT. You've got Anthropic. They own Claude, which is considered a kinder, safer version of ChatGPT, kinder, safer AI. Quen just came out last week. Again, it's another Chinese company that is supposed to be almost as good as ChatGPT and Claude, but free. And then you've got Grok, Meta AI, HeyGen, Opus Clip. There are so many. I know folks on the call are using Copilot. I just found out about Ideogram today, which is a lot of fun. There's new stuff every day, right? But here's the caveat. Andy,
Yes.
is everything on the internet true?
I'm gonna go with no.
Mm.
Pretty sure. I read that on the
Okay.
internet though, so it may not be the answer.
So what does that mean for us?
I mean, we feel like that means that most folks' jobs are safe, but they're going to change. Going back to the Pew research again, Pew did a study looking at which jobs are high exposure, medium exposure, and low exposure for AI to come in and have the biggest impact. You see in the low exposure, if you remember what the faces look like in the pizza video, I'm glad that barbers are not going to be AI anytime soon. But you're seeing the low exposure there. On the medium exposure, you've got CEOs, sales managers, designers. They're feeling like it's going to be a medium impact on those jobs. And then on the high exposure, Megan mentioned web developers and coders, data entry keyers, tax prep folks, budget analysts, and the technical writers. A pretty significant impact there on what all it could have an impact. It says dishwashers are in the low exposure category, but when I was in Montana 2 weeks ago, at the ramen place right there in Helena, they had a robot, an AI powered robot coming out to deliver the plates to everybody's table. And they said that so far it had only run into the bar and spilled food once, but they had discovered that it was really scared of jackets. If you hung a jacket on the back of your chair, that would just freak it out and it would stop because it didn't know what was going on. So it's amazing where all it's going to be. And the one thing that I'll say, Megan was talking about it being the year of agents. What a lot of folks are looking at the past 6 months have really been the time when AI stopped being a separate component and just became integrated into everything else. We hear from folks frequently that, oh, I'm not allowed to use AI. My IT doesn't, allow it. And the question there for a lot of companies figuring out is, well, now it's built into Adobe. Now it's built into Microsoft.
Yep.
How do we figure this out? And so a lot of questions to be answered for sure. Getting back to the slide, sorry. We really feel like AI will boost your productivity, but you're always going to need human review.
Yes. And you have an interesting way of thinking of AI, right?
Yeah, it's not perfect, but if you think about an intern, that you bring in, an intern can really help you accomplish a lot more work, give you some added capacity. You're helping them learn the job, but you've got to kind of treat AI like you would treat an intern, where you're not going to just turn them loose and say go do all this member facing or customer facing work without anybody checking. You're going to have to train them. And then in the end, you're going to have to check their work before it goes out the door to make sure that it's up to the quality that you're after.
Because they might seem confident, but that doesn't mean they know what they're doing.
100%.
Yep. All right. We're going to talk about prompts first, because no matter what you're doing with generative AI, prompts are going to be part of that. And a prompt, we're showing this for just to help y'all out, to starting in ChatGPT, but it's the same wherever you're using AI. Basically, a prompt is how you ask it to do something. So you have create a task, whatever you want to do, in a specific style for whatever format you want to get out of it, and based on a source. And I always like to say please as well, because they haven't taken over the world yet, but things are progressing quickly. So
We want to be on the good list.
we want to be on the good list. Yes. So for tasks, these are things like you could ask it for article ideas or a blog post or a headline, a campaign outline, sample questions for something. If you're interviewing someone and you need some questions for them, maybe a Facebook post or a summary of something. And then you want to give it a style. It could be friendly, corporate, a journalist, neighbor, first person. You can also specify a reading level if you want. That's really helpful if you're in communications. But I think, Andy, you're really good when you talk about style. So why don't you share an example of how style can work?
Sure. We work with a co-op that does broadband here in Middle Tennessee. And I was talking with them, and they said they had a bunch of folks that had applied for internships, and they were going to use AI, it was ChatGPT specifically. They were going to use that to write the internship rejection letters. They save a lot of time. Those kids don't know they're being rejected by a robot. It's fine. So it was, I decided I was going to try it too. So I asked ChatGPT, please write a internship rejection letter. And it came out with this: Dear students, I hope this letter finds you well. We appreciate your interest in the internship program at Utility and the time you invested in the application process. It is with regret that we inform you that your application has not been selected for the internship program.
Okay.
I said, well, that's okay. That checks the box. That gives them the information, but it doesn't have a lot of feeling. I wonder if it's possible. So I said, please rewrite it. Again, I said, please, to stay on the good side. Please rewrite it in a sadder style. It came up with, in just seconds, dear student name, I hope this letter finds you, although I know it carries heavy news. It is with deep regret that we must inform you of our decision to decline your application for the internship program at Utility. Your application stood out amidst a pool of talented candidates, and our decision was not made lightly. Now, Megan is a better actor than me, but I'm doing my best here. So that made it sad. Okay, well that's good. I wonder what else it can do. I wonder if we can make it a little bit more casual. The kids today, they're pretty casual. Let's make it more flippant and casual, please. Seconds later, hey, student's name. Hope this message doesn't bring you down too much, but we regret to inform you that we won't be seeing you at Utility as part of our internship program. We had quite a bunch of applications to sift through, and we've selected some folks who we think are a bit better matched for our current openings. It's all quite subjective, really. It's not bad. It did that in seconds. Again, nothing that me or the utility I'm talking about couldn't do, but it did it in a matter of seconds. So then at that point I was getting pretty far afield, and I said, okay, let's make it sarcastic. Can we make it bite a little bit? So please rewrite it in a sarcastic style.
And let's be clear, we don't condone sending sarcastic notes to your internship applicants.
This is purely a thought exercise. Yeah. Dear student name. Well, aren't we in for a dose of disappointment today? Unfortunately, we must share the news that you won't be gracing Utility with our presence as part of our internship program. I know, shocking, right? Our team had a real hoot sifting through the stack of applications. We managed to find a few individuals who we think better fit the criteria. And then it ended with a sentence about, you'll soon find this happens a lot in the real world, or something like that. Even though it's a robot, that's a burn. So I wouldn't send that version, but we walked through that just to show you guys how quickly and how deftly it can move through the different styles in just a matter of seconds.
Yeah, and this is all about helping your productivity, right? So that is a fun way to understand the styles that it could help you with. Formats can be anything. It could be a list, it could be code, it could be just plain text. And the source is important. This is your way to say, hey, could you edit this specific copy? Or I'm going to mention how you can build knowledge bases later on so that it pulls from specific information. Because, dun 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 dun.
Give me to ask the time and you answer.
Yes.
Is everything on the internet true, Megan?
No.
That's a negative.
No, it's not. So when you're working on prompts, you want to remember to be specific about what task you want, the style you want, the format you want, and make sure that you tell it where the information should come from. So today we're going to talk about refining ideas, repurposing content, and reaching consumers. To refine ideas, it's really about turning an idea you have into action. And this is where I use AI really the bulk of the time. I have a lot of fun with it. For example, I had a meeting with Andy and I took a whole page of notes of things that I wanted to do, an idea that I had. And then I copied my notes, and now it'd be smarter to use something like read.ai, or I think there's fireflies.ai. There's AI companion that we have on the call now. But I took written notes, I put them into ChatGPT and asked it to write a short summary and a one-page proposal. That's the format that I wanted it in for a program at Pioneer. And it gave me one. Now it took me probably, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes to go through and edit it because AI tends to repeat itself, and it's getting better at that, but it likes to say the same thing in different ways. So I had to cull some of the content, but it still saved me at least an hour of time just pulling everything together, pulling my thoughts together, and helping me get this to Andy so that he can consider it. I also, my personal love is Claude. We show examples in both Claude and ChatGPT because those are two of the leading bots that folks are using to ask questions, right? But I use Claude for brainstorming. For example, we have an event coming up next month that has a pirate theme. So I asked Claude if he could take some text that I had and lightly edit it to include some common pirate phrases and jargon. So I put my source, the information that I had, and I just needed a little extra kick to it, right? And it responded, "Ahoy, me hearties, here's a pirate-themed version of your text. Avast ye mateys, hoist the mainsail for 4 days of swashbuckling skills, treasure troves of ideas, and yarn spinning for utility and broadband buccaneers." And as you can tell, Claude sometimes gets a little overly anxious and keeps giving you more than you might need. At the end, it said, "Ar, does this version float your boat? I can keyhaul it some more if you fancy a different style, Captain." I was good. But
I told y'all Megan's a much better actor than I am, so you're killing it. You're killing it.
No, I just have fun with this stuff, but it was a little overboard, right? And again, AI can be a little overboard sometimes. So I took some of the ideas, not all of them. I did not use Shiver Me Timbers because I feel it's overused. But then I used it on our website. So it just helped me brainstorm a different way to reformat something, to rewrite it, right? I also was working on broadband marketing, right? We have a new guide that is coming out very soon about how to push out your message. Like once you have your system built, like what else do you need to do? Because folks are fighting churn, right? They have a lot of subscribers that they then are losing and they want to get more, and they're always trying to increase their take rate. So I wanted to figure out a way to list the storytelling stages for broadband subscribers. And I had some general ideas, but I just needed to brainstorm, what am I missing? And I went into Claude and I asked it to help me list the storytelling stages for subscribers, starting with a new market, building brand awareness, and then breaking it down into personalized storytelling based on different items, right? And then I asked for a suggestion for an outline. It gave me a ton of stuff, more than I needed. But as I looked over the results, I thought, this is a good idea. I like this approach. I then took highlights from that. And I went to actual people versus Claude, who I love, but is not a person. And I asked folks that are working on broadband campaigns and marketing, what do you think of this? What am I missing? What do we need to add? And we came up with a really cool subscriber story cycle that is helped in part through brainstorming through AI. You can also refine ideas. I know we've got a lot of folks on the call that help work with employee engagement, right? So maybe you're working on some icebreakers. I asked, this is for ChatGPT, I said, could you suggest 3 icebreakers, including one for remote workers, for utility staff? And it gave me 2 truths and a lie, virtual office tour, and bucket list bingo. I didn't care for 2 truths and a lie. There's a lot of ways that could go wrong. Bucket list bingo, though, that kind of sounds fun. So I asked it to give me more icebreakers that could kind of reflect our industry. And it came up with Powerline Pictionary and Telecom Tech Trivia. So again, you're refining ideas, you're going back and forth. It's just like somebody you used to call and just say, hey, can I buy you a coffee and just talk to you about this? For me, that's kind of what AI has become. Someone that I can, something, not someone, that I can touch base with and just bounce ideas off of. But I think it is super important to start with content. Don't just do this and ask it to create everything for you. That is a dangerous road. One of the ways that I do this, Andy mentioned Adobe Firefly, it's the integration. It's AI is in everything we use now. So Photoshop is a program that I use when I'm editing pictures, right? And I use Photoshop and through it, Adobe Firefly's AI model to change up some images. This is a picture of an intern for one of our programs. And there were all these cars and there was that semi in the background. So I just highlighted that area and I put in a prompt, create an empty paved street lined with trees. And it gave me 3 different options. And I could keep prompting it. There were some people in one, and I said, hey, can you remove these people? But if you start with an image, it can help you keep moving through it. Now, if you do have any kind of impact on AI on an image, I would ask you to be transparent and tell people that. I think it's very important not to be using AI in images and not tell people that AI is involved. You can also use a tool in Photoshop called Generative Expand. This is a picture of the amazing Teresa at Lassen MUD in California. And she was speaking at an NWPPA conference. And I thought, oh, I just need a little extra space on the sides, So I used a tool called Generative Expand where I showed it how big I wanted the picture to be. And I clicked enter. I didn't even use a prompt for this. I just made it bigger. And it said, cool, started generating for me. And it gave me 2 options. As you can see, it has issues with chairs, but it handled the fabric really well. When I worked at Greystone Power, one of my jobs was to have images for our staff. I would always take new pictures of the new hires. And I remember using Photoshop and spending forever if I needed more gray background around the person, like someone had taken a picture when I wasn't there and it was cropped too close and it wouldn't work for the employee newsletter. Generative Expand is fantastic, a huge time saver for just filling in backgrounds. So it's a really handy tool that I use a lot. One of the other things, a lot of folks are using video now. I don't know if folks on the call have noticed this, but video is huge. And I love using Opus Clip. Now, in Opus Clip, you can upload your own videos, or I use it more often for YouTube videos. I had a video of Andy doing an amazing podcast with another gentleman, and I put the YouTube link in there and asked it to generate social media clips for me. I gave it the length of time that I wanted the clip to be. And I could even put in keywords that I wanted to look out for if there was a certain part of the video I needed some social media clips for. And it not just created social media clips, but Andy, it blew my mind. This is the first time I had used it, and now I've been using it for several months and love it. But it rates the content based on trends that folks are following. So it said, the highest rated clip of this, it's just a minute, and it's about this section. And then I can go in and make edits to the text for that. I can remove pauses. I can remove keywords. I can go in and change, the spelling because sometimes AI does not know how to spell names. So you can go in and edit it too, but it's such a huge time saver. And if you follow Pioneer on social media at Utility Pioneers, you'll see we use these clips a lot of the time when we interview folks on the podcast. And I use Opus Clip for all of that. Super handy.
Do you ever, Megan, you ever get a 99 score on your clips, or is that yeah? Sure you do. Probably 100.
It's not a competition.
That was a good score.
Andy.
I just wanted to point it out. I didn't want that to go without notice.
I get that. I get that. It's also handy to use AI to refine content. So we had a letter that we were sending out to our members last summer, and I wanted it to become a blog post. So I took the letter that had already been written and I said, using this article as a starting point, please write an easy to understand blog post. I put in, I wanted friendly, conversational tone. I put in the word count that I wanted and was very clear and gave it information not to include as well and included a CTA, a call to action at the end for how to learn more. And it generated a fantastic version of that for me. Again, this is through Claude, which I loved. And it added things like headlines, because this is not a letter, this is going to be on our blog. And I was able to go through those, do some more editing, and it was super helpful to be able to take existing content and make it even better. You can do the same thing if you're rewriting something for a fourth grade reading level, which is what we always recommend. You want to make sure anything that you're writing is easy for your staff, for your members to understand. You can look for repeated words and ask it to offer you options for those. If you ever just don't want to pull out a thesaurus and figure out another word to use, it can scan your text and make sure that you keep a variety of words in there. It's very handy if you're trying to shorten your content to a specific length. That has helped me. And it also is really good at things like rewriting for subheads, optimizing it for search engine optimization, right? Or identifying jargon. So if you're writing something for your consumers and you want to make sure there's no words in there that it's going to go straight over their heads, it can help you weed out those words and make your content as easy as possible for your consumers to understand. So super
good thing
helpful.
Folks in the electric utility industry don't have to worry about any jargon or confusing acronyms or anything that they need to have it replaced, right?
Yes. Gotta love the jargon. We have a swear jar here, the jargon jar, every time I find jargon in my stuff. So one of the new things that I love, and I'm going to be diving into this a bit more this fall with folks that come to the NIC, is the custom GPTs that you can build. So when you use ChatGPT now, you are just asking it and it kind of gets to know you, but it's a generic ChatGPT experience. You can choose a custom GPT, a custom voice that they've created, and they have a variety there. Or if you pay $200 a month with ChatGPT, you can create your own custom GPT. And this means you can put in knowledge that you want it to know about. Maybe you have your consumer handbook that they get when they come to the cooperative and you want them, or to the public power utility, and you want them to have that information. Maybe you want it to be an employee voice. And so you put in your employee handbook and other information that they should be aware of, keeping your security of data in mind, of course. But you can build a knowledge base by uploading files to give it specialized information, and you can set the voice. One of the best ways that I think, and what we're going to be playing with this fall, ways to use a custom GPT is to maybe create an energy efficiency knowledge base and have a voice of someone asking questions or giving advice. Maybe it's somebody that is an energy expert, and you train it to know what is real and what is a myth, right? So a custom GPT is a really cool way to have a more refined and knowledge forward experience with one of these learning language models. I also really love Claude, as I've mentioned a few times, and I know we have some fans on the call. But with Claude projects, you can build a knowledge base. And this is something that I've used a lot. So I have PDFs that I am using, I have some things that I have written in the past, and I put them all into a knowledge base. And then whenever I'm working on a project there, I can just ask it to pull only from that knowledge. And that helps you make sure the information that you're going to get is correct and it's pulling from the right sources.
Megan,
It's all, yeah.
while we're on that slide mentioning PDFs, do you want to talk real briefly about the file types? Because I know initially you had to copy and paste text into there, but things have gotten better, and I've even
Oh,
noticed.
things have gotten so much better.
I think Claude has even gotten better in terms
Mhm.
of like spreadsheets and CSVs and files like that. Do you want to speak to that real quick?
Yeah, sure, sure. So it used to be that Chat GPT, the first, um, the first bot that came on the scene, with AI, it wouldn't go to websites. So you couldn't ask it to refer to a website and it wouldn't take documents, not even Word documents. It was very frustrating. They fixed the Word document issue after a while, but you would have to just copy your entire document over and paste it into Chat GPT and then say, this is the source or this is my content and this is what I want you to do. You'd have to put that under your prompt. It was a pain. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with Claude because Claude has always let you upload a PDF and attach it to your prompt. Projects were added last year, and projects allow you to do PDFs, spreadsheets, it's PowerPoint slides. You can put those in Claude. So that's been really nice. And they are constantly evolving, these different platforms. I'm going to show y'all a platform in a moment that does let you use websites as part of the search, which is really nice. So yeah, it's constantly changing. I think the most important part of this is to know that you can give it content and build a knowledge base for yourself that it is pulling information from. The only caveat for that, especially for publicly owned utilities, is to make sure you're not doing that and putting consumer data into one of these sources. There is a workaround that some utilities have done in the Midwest, and that is to build their own learning language model, which is what ChatGPT is. It's what Claude is. They're all learning language models. So they built their own on a server owned by their generation and transmission cooperative. And it is secure in as much as the G&T servers are secure. They're not sending that data anywhere else. And they are letting their member utilities use their local LLM, like learning language model. And they are using it and putting member data, consumer data into it. That's the only caveat. If you don't have a secure way to access the data or to protect the data, then just be aware of the kinds of data you're putting into these different knowledge bases. Speaking of data, Andy, can y'all tell I get really excited about AI? There's so much cool stuff that can happen. But I mentioned one of the things that's out there that you can use to also pull information from websites, and that's from Google Research. Notebook LM, it just debuted last fall. I love it. And you are able to add URLs to certain content. I was able to put in the bulletin in September. You can put up to 50 different sources, whether they're websites, PDFs, lots of other varieties of documents in there. And you can ask it questions just based, again, on that knowledge base. In fact, you can not just go back and forth asking it questions, but you can ask it to give you an audio overview, and it generated and blew minds at NWPPA's NIC conference last September. I had it do a 10-minute podcast giving a summary of what was in the bulletin that month. And I think Brenda and other folks that were there could probably attest. It sounded like two people talking and telling you about the wonders of public power. So there's a lot of potential out there for compiling data. Again, it's all about these knowledge bases, right? Super important to think about.
Ever wonder what?
I also think it's kind of fun to see what's possible with reporting. I know we have folks on the call that are in human resources and are in accounting. So this is something kind of that we're playing with and seeing how reliable it is. But we have data from a lot of different sources, right? You've got your Google Analytics, our Pioneer Social reports, our Story Connect podcast spreadsheet that keeps up with downloads. So I took all of these different sources of data and I put them all inside a project in Claude. And then I wrote this prompt. So we're talking, y'all saw the prompts are typically pretty small, right? This is a much longer prompt. I actually asked Claude to help me write it to make sure I knew what I kind of wanted, but I worked with Claude to refine this prompt and make sure it looked good. And then I put my projects, the PDFs and everything that I was using and my spreadsheets in there. And it started to code for me and create a report of how many people we reached. This is a web-based dashboard that it created, and I could send the URL once I published it to anyone internally to see. I mean, y'all, the possibilities with AI are crazy. It took all of those different reports and put everything in one place, and not just putting that information there, but I asked it to include content strategy suggestions. And it included those too. You can do so much with artificial intelligence.
Beyond refining ideas, repurposing ideas and repurposing content has been a way that we're using it as well. Getting into these, part of the reason why I asked Megan to talk about some of the formats is many of you do the Ruralite magazine. Many of you, if not that, you may have documentation from a vendor or from an equipment provider, different agencies. There are some great ways to take that content and repurpose it in a format that you need it in different ways. Obviously, we lean towards magazines when we can. So this is an example of the connected magazine that we do for a broadband co-op in Alabama. They had a very nice story about precision agriculture and how folks are using their fiber optic network to increase yields and efficiencies on the farm. And usually that's where the magazine article may stop. We decided for this one to see how ChatGPT, AI in general, but specifically ChatGPT could help take a little bit farther. So we said, take this PDF and create a set of social media posts with trending hashtags, then produce a 300-word version with SEO optimized text to post on the website, and based on this story. And so it looks like this one, maybe we copy and pasted the text rather than the PDF, but you could do the PDF now. Yeah. And in seconds, again, it's nothing you couldn't do, but it's something that this spits out in seconds. Instead of having to take the time to do it. So Griffith Farms is on the cutting edge of farming with precision agriculture technology. Learn how they're using broadband to boost yields and efficiency, and then it had 3 good hashtags for you. And it does a Facebook version, a LinkedIn version, and a couple of other channels as well. So then we said, it gave us the one, this one I believe, Megan, is for the email summary as well, right? For the email newsletter. Yeah. So it gave us this, discover how Griffith Farm is redefining farming and cutting edge precision agriculture. And with this one, we said that's pretty good, but it doesn't mention the co-op. It doesn't mention the broadband provider. So please, again, we said please, because we want to be on the good side, please rewrite with a focus on how FTC is partnering to boost productivity. And in seconds, it turns it around. It adds FTC in there, adds a hashtag with FTC in it. And again, nothing you couldn't do, but a whole lot faster this way.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to the new era of video creation with HeyGen. Simply type your script to get started.
Did that freak everybody out?
I'm a little freaked out. I didn't realize it was going to autoplay. This the lady's a little creepy, but pretty cool. HeyGen is a platform where you can type in your script and you can upload it or you can submit it, and they have different narrators with different looks. You see some of them are in a lab coat. That makes everybody more credible. Some of them have a British accent. That makes them more credible. All kinds of options on who you want the person to look like. And it can read the script automatically. And you can also do it. This was through HeyGen as well, right?
Yeah.
You can even use it on yourself.
I'm not real. I'm an avatar based on a 30-second recording of Megan. You can type text for me to say in different languages. Imagine how you could use this tool to reach more consumers.
I have to tell you, Andy, the last second imagine, I asked it to make me more excited for that part of the script.
Oh, well, you are more excited.
I know.
The
eyebrows, everything.
Is there more of it, or
no? That's it.
That's okay.
It.
All right.
Yeah.
We did this one. This is an example of something we did for Pioneer, and this was early. I think it was like early summer, late spring, 2024. You'll see that the motions and the facial expressions are not always perfect, but if you remember the Pepperoni Hugspot video, you can see it's come a long way. So here's an example of what we did there.
How can utility and broadband communicators stream stories with podcasts? As your award-winning podcast production partner, Pioneer has a guide to help you launch a podcast and tell your story. We pooled insights from the team of our national award-winning The Story Connect podcast and Peer Insights. Our team will be with you every step of the way. Find inspiration and solutions at pioneer.coop.
So you can see there are a few things like, her hands moving a little unusually, not quite the way a human would do it at the end. Some of the facial expressions don't match. But overall, that's awfully impressive for something that could be done very quickly and very inexpensively to do that. It's not just about video. When we're talking about repurposing content, you can get a teaser for your e-newsletter. You can get social media posts related to, with related hashtags like we talked about with the precision agriculture article. You can get it shortened down to a 2-sentence message for a bill or even on-hold messages, radio script, videos using avatars, like we said. One of the cool examples that we've used before is give me a list of questions a journalist might ask. So you're taking, if you've got a press release or if you've got a news item that's coming out, send it into your generative AI platform of choice and say, give me some journalistic style questions that may be asked. And then you can go ahead and practice and anticipate what some of those are going to be. It can eliminate some blind spots for you, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody feel free to throw it in the chat? We'll talk a little bit about reach here in the next little bit. But if anybody has ideas of how you are using AI to repurpose or refine ideas, feel free to go ahead and throw them in the chat. And Megan, if you don't mind watching for those while I'm going through the next couple slides.
Yeah, I have been trying. I think mainly people are like freaking out. Also, I should say, I'm very trusting of Andy to let my avatar exist. So we'll see how long. Maybe we need a code word so I'm still here.
No, this is real. I mean, this is a conversation that, when some of these came out and they talked about how if your voice is publicly available, Megan and I talked about it. I've got probably 200 episodes of a podcast out there on the internet with my voice on it. Megan's got dozens of them out there. And, we actually had a conversation with my son, who is 12, about, what if a number you don't know calls you and says they need you to meet them after school somewhere. And he said, well, we can ask, we were talking about what can you ask to make sure it's real. Sorry, this is a little cul-de-sac here, but here we go. And he said, well, I could ask him who your favorite baseball team is. And I was like, no, that's on my Facebook page. That's out there. So even talking to a 12-year-old about making sure that they don't get scammed by AI somehow, this is a real thing to consider.
Yeah.
Again, excited and concerned, I think is the phrase.
That is the theme.
Phrase of the day. Yep. All right. The last item here of our 1, 2, 3 bullet points is reach, and you can use AI to increase your reach. Looking at it here, optimizing your content for search. We are believers in SEO. Every couple of months, I'll see an article that says SEO is dead. And then another month later, I'll see an article that says SEO is not dead. So there's still a lot of good practices that you can do. And AI can help you do that. It makes sense that if you think about a search engine as a computer that is going out and looking for content, if another computer helps you write that content for the other computer to read it, it would stand to reason that it may help there.
Yeah.
Here's an example with Coastal Electric, a co-op down south, and they had the report a power outage page, and it's okay. It's fine. There's nothing really wrong with that. But if we say, please rewrite this content for SEO, and then we paste that text in there, we did both ChatGPT and Claude on this one. ChatGPT bolded the subheads, but both of them presented it with subheads, and it's a fairly similar outcome. But if you know anything about search engine optimization, you know that those subheads breaking it up is good for search engine. It's also good for the modern reader with a short attention span who's just looking to try to get that information and get out of there. So while it's happy, it will help you with SEO. It also helps with real people.
And I should say, Andy, we asked ChatGPT what changes it made, not just, hey, what's here. Don't just rewrite it. Why did you rewrite it? And it told us why, which is pretty cool.
It's good to know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It said you need a clear structure. You've got to have certain keywords in the title and the text, and you have to make the link specific, which I think is important because we all have this page at our utility website, right? But instead of saying click here, say click here to report the issue. Little changes like that can really help your page.
Things you may not think about, but the computer does. Right. We should have put a caveat at the beginning of this presentation that if you're going to be here for the first part, make sure that you stick around to this part, because like we talked about earlier, we've talked about what you can do, but an important part to think about is what you should do. So with great power, it was Spider-Man or Uncle Ben, or maybe it was both of them. With great power comes great responsibility. AI is this new thing that we're all trying to figure out. And I saw somebody in the chat mentioned the academic world and, grading research papers and do kids even need to learn how to write research papers anymore? And then how do we grade them? And we've talked about it from our standpoint with folks that we hire. If their cover letter, run that through the AI checker, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then you get the results on whether or not they used AI to help write their cover letter. But then you got to decide, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Do you want somebody who didn't use it, or do you want somebody who is using it? Setting a policy so you have some kind of framework is really what we recommend. We came out at Pioneer. We came out with our first policy, our 1.0 version. It's been probably about a year since we had that. We knew that it was going to need to change. We just knew that we needed something. We needed something to point to as our true north to say, this is what we're going to do for now. This is the best that we understand. And then we know that it's going to change. Megan is on our AI committee that you see a picture of there. They are meeting right now to revise that and figure out what the new elements are. Yep. The key framework that we put around it was transparency. At the time when we came out with it, we felt like text, it was more okay to use AI to help you figure out text and rewrite and shorten text, but we were not comfortable at the time in using it for images. There's still some case law out there going about who owns the elements of those images, who with video especially, what are the laws, what are the rules. We weren't comfortable at the time that we came up with this about a year ago, using any of that in work that we are sending on to our members and clients. So we have in our policy that we aren't going to do that. If we're going to use any text, we're going to label it clearly. We've modified that a little bit since then, but we're sticking with the transparency element of it, where we're always going to let people know, and then we're always going to ensure that a human has looked at it and checked it to be sure that not only does it sound right, but that it's accurate. Excuse me, that it's accurate. One of the early groups to come out with a strong detailed policy was the USA Today Network. Megan and I are both former newspaper people, so that's an industry that obviously we have ties to. The policy that the USA Today Network came up with about ethical conduct for newsroom around AI was super long. I didn't have time to do that, so I just fed it into ChatGPT and asked it to come up with some bullet points for me, and that was a whole lot easier. So AI told me that their policy was, just like I said with Pioneers, it focuses on transparency and disclosure. It focuses on verification. It does talk about fair use, like I was talking about earlier with the images. And then as Megan alluded to earlier, that data protection and privacy piece is huge. Unless even some of the paid versions of the platforms, we're still a little wary. They say it stays within your area if you pay for it. We're still pretty wary on that in terms of uploading proprietary information or customer information, just because the dust is still settling on some of that, and you never know what company is going to buy out your AI provider that you've uploaded it. And better safe than sorry when it comes to that. There are some examples there. I don't know. I imagine the QR code will work if you want to try to scan it. But pioneer.coop/AI tools is a page that we've set up. It has a lot of policies from some of the different providers. LexisNexis has a very strong policy out there with some details that you may consider throwing in there, because there's a lot of stuff. It's moving so quick. There's a lot of stuff that you may not have thought about. But it's kind of like the social media was maybe 15 or 20 years ago, where your employees, if they said something on Facebook, could they get in trouble at work? If they were bashing the company or the utility on their Facebook page, is that okay? Is that not okay? And a lot of companies worked to get some kind of a social media policy in place so that it was no longer the wild, wild west. We feel like it's the same kind of way with AI, because right now, if your employee knows about some of these tools and uses them in their job, and you don't have a policy saying whether or not they should or they shouldn't, you open yourself up for all kinds of trouble there, in terms of, they didn't know that they couldn't use AI images, or they didn't know that they couldn't take the picture of them on site somewhere and add in some safety equipment that they didn't have on at the time. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's out there. If you don't have a policy, then people don't have a true north to guide them.
I will say that when we spoke to folks in Montana 2 weeks ago about this, I asked for a show of hands. Who has a policy on AI use at their utility in Montana? 2 people raised their hands, and I said, everybody keep those hands up. Everybody look at those 2 people. Go up to them after this meeting. Swarm them. Exactly. They quickly put their hands down. I said, no, but share your policies. And I would say, if you have one that you're willing to share, let Brenda know, let Melissa know at NWPPA. And NWPPA, I know, is a fantastic resource for strengthening public power across the Northwest, right? So work together, share those resources as examples so that they're a leaping off point for somebody else, because not many people have policies right now, and your staff are already using these tools. We're talking at Pioneer, we were just talking last week about this. We need to have one meeting support, whether it's read.ai or, as I mentioned, there's Fireflies, there's AI Companion, there's so many different ones out there. We need to choose which one we're going to use as a cooperative, and then we are going to vet it and make sure how it works and go over and have staff training of how it works, right? As Andy said, it's just like social media. You've got to have a policy in place, and you have to train your staff. And then you have to be transparent. And Andy, I think this is one of the big things that we've been talking to folks about and reminding them. You have to show folks and tell them if you're using it. I love seeing the notes in the bulletin when Nina has put in editor's note. Different AI tools were used, and they explain how they worked. It's so important. Just list that at the end. You don't have to make it a huge thing, but make sure folks know. When on the blog, I used speakai.co to transcribe something that I recorded on my phone, I just wrote it in there and said, hey, I used this and it saved me this much time. I also mentioned that I then edited and added my own summaries to it, but it saved me about an hour, right? Mention it, and mention it internally. Again, I'm going to keep hitting that bell. You got to talk to folks internally at your utility about how you're using it. Andy and I work together on content for several different channels across our co-op. And for all of that, we've added in a place for us to write not just the author and the run date and the web excerpt, which is what we have on everything, but AI tools, if any, and prompt, if any. We added those in last year at some point, Andy, because we realized, even though I know that I didn't use AI on this, somebody else that is helping us with content might have. And we have to make sure there's a clear chain of communication so we know if AI has been used. And then we check it. We check everything that we're putting out. There's a ton of free AI detectors out there. Not all of them are fantastic, I should say. And I think folks are talking about that in the chat as well, that sometimes I think an AI checker said that Shakespeare was AI generated. That's not true.
It
but
all makes sense now, actually.
It all makes sense. I know. But it was trained on Shakespeare, which is why it's like, of course, this is generated by AI. It's not going to be perfect, but we use the AI detector at Grammarly just to make sure and check content that we're getting and make sure that it's not something that was used by someone else, that somebody didn't give us content that is AI generated.
And again, the answer, to what Megan was talking about there with the checkers or with labeling it, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing from our perspective that AI was used. If a freelancer sends us something and AI has been used, or if, like I said, a job applicant sends something in and has AI in their cover letter, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You just want to know. You just want to know that transparency. Yeah. There are certain jobs where it would be weird if they didn't use AI in a cover letter, because you want somebody who's innovating and using new stuff. So yeah, not necessarily putting a value judgment on there, just urging transparency.
Transparency and awareness. So we're going to refine ideas, repurpose content, reach consumers. There's something I'm missing, Andy.
Are you ready for a bonus R? We got a few more minutes. You want a bonus
Yay!
R?
Yes.
All right. Review. As you guys have seen, whether it's images or text, there are problems with AI frequently, and having a person go back and look at it is absolutely essential and needs to be built into your policy. The article in Forbes, there's no getting around the fact that at least some percentage of content is going to be created by AI tools going forward, yet AI requires a fair amount of human intervention and direction to create content that can measure up to human standards. Absolutely essential for that. This was an industry publication. This was not in the bulletin, but this was another industry publication. And you can see at the bottom, hopefully you can see it, they were transparent. They said the source was Microsoft Designer AI. And this was a story about the difficulty of railroad crossings when it comes to installing fiber optic cable. But if you look closely at the picture, we've got lines going to a traffic light or a stoplight that is red, blue, and green, as all stoplights are. But then you've also got 7 wires going to that one light. On the other side, the spool of conduit is not even connected to the line that's underneath it. And then you can see on the utility pole on the right side there that there's all kinds of issues with number of wires on each side, and it just doesn't look natural. This saved them probably quite a bit of time. They didn't have to have a designer or illustrator go in and design this picture, and maybe they looked at their stock images and they couldn't find a picture of an angry guy on a railroad track, so they decided to make it. Saved them time, but they didn't review it, and they published a picture with some pretty big issues on it.
Yep.
Megan had a story where she asked ChatGPT, please write a story about winter energy efficiency tips. Sure enough, it wrote a story.
It did. You want me to read it to you?
Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in the mountains, the winter months brought cold temperatures and snowfall. Ooh. As temperatures dropped, the residents of the town began to notice their energy bills were rising. One resident, Mrs. Smith, decided to start by sealing any gaps or cracks in the walls and windows of her home. She used weather stripping and caulk to ensure that no cold air was sneaking in, making her home feel colder.
That's called a faulty prompt, Andy.
It's a story. It did what you asked. It made up Mrs. Smith. It made up this town. The once upon a time was a pretty good giveaway there.
Right. Right,
So,
right.
so it took a little bit of refinement. Megan reviewed it. That we can't run it like this. So the new prompt here are some. Sorry, please rewrite this story again consistently using please. Please rewrite this story in the style of a list of tips. Here are some winter energy efficiency tips to help keep your home warm and your energy bills low. And you see, it talks about some of the same topics: sealing the gaps and cracks, programmable thermostats, that sort of thing. But it's much more usable in this format. We've talked about that AI can save you time. It can help you come up with ideas, but you've got to remember what's on the line when it comes to something like this. You guys have 80 plus years, most of y'all, 80 plus years of good reputation being the trusted experts in your community. If you start publishing things on your social channels, in your magazine, whatever, that is bad information, unsafe information, worst of all, if it looks weird, like I showed with the other picture, you start to chip away at that credibility. If you're not reviewing, if you're not editing what AI provides, is it worth saving the time if it chips away at the credibility that your utility has built over 80 years in your community? Yeah. I would say no. So you've got to go back and review.
So we've talked today about refining ideas, repurposing content, reaching consumers, and the best R of all, review. Hopefully, I know we've covered a lot of ground today, but hopefully this has given you some ideas of how AI can help you work smarter. And to kind of bring it home, here's a quick video showing how we used it on one piece of content.
Utility pioneers can work smarter with AI. As an example, we're going to take an ebook that we've written and refine the existing content. Using Claude, we are specific in our prompt, and we're able to upload our ebook as content so Claude knows what to pull from. Then Claude generates. You can see the blog post that we asked for start coming out. Once it is done, we can ask to repurpose for social. Please write 3 short posts for Facebook about the guide. And there they come, post 1, post 2, and post 3, but maybe it's not exactly what you wanted. Click retry, and Claude will regenerate the posts for you. If you want to increase your reach, you're able to do that by asking Claude to add hashtags or write an SEO optimized blurb for your website. Repurpose content, refine ideas, and increase your reach. Utility pioneers work smarter with AI.
And Megan, just to clarify, that was your actual voice speaking there, right? Not your avatar's voice. You never know anymore.
That was me. That was before HeyGen let us make an avatar. And I should say, HeyGen will let anyone make one avatar for free. But it costs more if you want 2 minutes, which they say you need for a really good avatar. I went with a 30-second free special because, it's fun. If you are ready to start, we've mentioned this a few times already, but all the resources that we've mentioned today, you can find that and blog posts we've had, podcast interviews with people using AI. All of that is at pioneer.coop/AI tools. And if you have any questions, you can always reach us at hello@pioneer.coop. So with that, I know the chat has been going nuts.
Been busy.
It has been busy. It's been fun busy. After people aren't as scared as they were initially, hopefully. We have, I think, 5 minutes left. If there's any questions that you guys have, things that it's just, oh, yeah, I will go back to the QR scan.
If the AI has any question, that'd be kind of cool.
Right. That would be.
It looks like some of the other questions that have been asked about SEO or generative AI, some of those were answered in the chat. So I think we're in good shape there. There you go. There's the QR code. Pioneer.coop/AI tools or scan the code there. And that's a page we're going to keep updating as the tools and resources change. That's the tough part about this session is every time we think we've got it figured out, there's there's something new that comes out to respond to.
But it's also exciting, right? So it's a lot of fun. And I know everything's going to change again by this fall. But that's one of the reasons that Pioneer has really been following this and trying to see the ways that it can help make your life easier. As a co op, it's kind of what we're here for. So we have a lot of fun with this. And Cindy, I'm so sorry that it's only 10 degrees there. It was 70 degrees this weekend in Georgia. And again, 2 weeks ago we had snow. So it's weather is wild, but not as wild as AI. If only we could get some fun, correct weather predictions from AI. Maybe that's the next step.
Maybe.
So we've got another question that just popped up. Is there a particular version of AI that is worth paying for? That's a great question, Tracy. I would say it depends on what you want to do with it. So Claude is my favorite. Folks that were working on OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, they didn't like the way it was being developed, so they created Claude. And I have both paid for it, $20 a month, and done it for free. The only difference with the paid version is that you can build those knowledge bases, right? And then ChatGPT, a lot of the options are free. If you want deep research, if you want access to Sora, which is their video generator, those elements you have to pay for. It's $20 a month or $200 a month for their really exclusive club. But honestly, Quan dropped last week. It's QWAN, and they say that they're just as good as the paid for versions, and they're free. So it's changing so quickly. Which is why we're always trying to stay on top of it. There's some great AI resources out there, and we always try to share them on our social as well at Utility Pioneers to let folks know about the latest developments. I love Claude. Andy, do you have a preference?
I was thinking through the other ones that we paid for at Pioneer. I think Opus Clip is the other one. Again, it's what you need it for, and for us, we do enough podcasts where Opus Clip. It's AI is built into Riverside, which is another recording program that we use, but the ability to take video clips and cut it into the very high rated different clips to use to take full videos and cut them down has definitely been worth it. And I don't think that one is terribly expensive on a monthly basis either.
It's not. There's a deal right now, so you can get it for a year for just over $100. But also, if you don't have a lot of videos, like if you just have a consumer meeting or like your annual meeting, and you have a video of that and you want to pull out the highlights, and you're just doing it once a year, you can do it for free with Opus Clip. It's just the fact that we have more than we can do with the free version. I would suggest trying a lot of these out and using the free version. I've never paid for Hey Jen, and I have my own avatar. So there are a lot of free options that are out there. And if you find something that works for you, maybe try it for a month at the paid version and see if it's something that's worth it.
And again, our thoughts, contrary to what some of the terms may say, even if you have the paid for version, still be very careful with what you're uploading in terms
definitely.
of proprietary, you know, it may seem like because you're paying for it, it's more walled off and secure, but until you have fully vetted it and run it by legal counsel, I would not upload any kind of customer data or anything proprietary. So just always throwing that out there.